no. Plan B.
Very dramatic. Ladies and gentlemen, is it possible to be young and wise at the same time? A talk with fine balance between humor and scientific research. Please welcome our next speaker, Ms. Randi Assenova.
Hi. I'm here today to talk about whether you're sabotaging your own success, whether parents, teachers, guidance counselors are leading you in the wrong direction. But before I start, I need to tell you a story of how I got into this topic. So my husband and I have 3 monsters. And by monsters, I mean 3 highly energetic boys. We're a very close-knit family. We eat dinner together every night, regardless of our crazy schedules. So picture this. Sitting at the table, 3 kids under the age of 6. We asked the normal questions. How was school? Were you kind today? Please say you were kind today. Did you make any new friends? On one particular day, our 3-year-old gets up from the table. He runs to his backpack, scrambles through, grabs a piece of paper, and any 3-year-old jumps on his chair, raises his picture. On top of the picture, it says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" As we're looking, trying to figure out what he drew, he screams out, "When I grow up, I want to be a fire truck!" We all giggle, correct him. "You mean you want to be a fireman?" No, Mommy. I don't want to be the man. I want to be the truck." My husband and I just nod. Next, we move over to our 6-year-old. "So, what change do you want to make in society? What are you going to do for this world?" As boldly as he can, he sits up straight. "When I grow up, I'm going to be a professional athlete." Okay, again we nod, typical answer for any 6-year-old. Sure. Okay, so if you're not a professional athlete, what's your backup plan? What do you want to do? Even bolder, a little bit arrogant, puffs out his chest again. "If I don't make it as a professional athlete, I'm going to be President of the United States of America." Again, my husband and I just nod. Okay, fast forward several years. Here we are again, sitting at the table. We have a middle schooler, an elementary student, and our youngest is in 1st grade. We're in a heated conversation. Let me be a little bit more realistic. It was actually a fight. Kids can be ridiculous. My children actually think that Iron Man can beat Thor in a battle. Ridiculous. Seriously. Here we were, going over all of the scenarios, what you do with the hammer, how Iron Man would put out his hand, everything you can think of. When our 6-year-old stops the conversation because he has a serious question. "Hey, Mom, do you think Iron Man had a backup plan?" We kind of look at him, all a bit confused. So he continues. "In school today, my teacher said that when we're looking at a backup plan, and when we're looking at the future, we need to have a backup plan. She even told Masha that she needs to think of something realistic in case she doesn't become a professional singer." He ended by saying, "Iron Man must have had a backup plan, because being an Avenger is not really realistic." So, this fun conversation led to something a little more serious. My middle schooler, again, what do you want to be? A professional athlete, still claiming that this was his goal. When we asked about your backup plan, you need a backup plan. I don't have one. I don't need one. I don't want one. We tried to explain why he needs a backup plan. We gave all the what ifs. What if you get injured? What if you're just not good enough? Do you know the statistics on what it takes to become a professional athlete? Now, like I said, I'm very close with my family. I know them very well. But on the flip side, they know me very well. My son had the perfect response. "Mom, you're all about data. You're all about research. Every decision you make is supported by something. Show me where having a backup plan makes you successful. Show me that people who have a backup plan are actually more successful than people that don't." So I thought about it. Why is it do I believe that you need a backup plan? why shouldn't you just go for your goal? So I started my research. This idea of having a backup plan is not new. If plan A fails, you need a plan B. A plan B makes us feel secure, safe, less nervous. This quote goes back to the 1600s. It is not a new idea. You need a backup plan. But at what cost? In 2016, two PhD students from the University of Wisconsin, Jia Shin and Kathleen Milkman, decided to test this. Their two ideas that they tested was, does a backup plan reduce how much you want your goal, or is it just a distraction? They had many tests. One of the tests I'm going to discuss here, there was two groups. The task was simple. They had to unscramble sentences like this. Not so easy, as you can see. The control group was asked just to unscramble them. Whoever performed well would get a reward. The test group was told, solve as many of these as you can. But if you could come up with an alternative way to get the reward, we will reward you regardless of how well you do on this test. The results are pretty interesting. As you can see, people who had a backup plan did not perform as well as the people who didn't even look at a backup plan, who stayed focused on their task. This result is not just for this test. We see similar results. In a recent study, I think it was last year, 1,000 financial analysts were asked to make a plan A and a plan B for a specific project. In these results that showed the majority of the people who were tasked to have a plan A and a plan B underperformed in both plans. But when their supervisor asked them, I need you to come up with one idea for this project, all 1,000 employees increased performance. Okay, so what does this tell us? In simple terms, if you invest as much time in a plan A and a plan B, you work less hard and you perform worse on both plans. Research is here to state that. Just the idea of thinking that you have a backup plan will reduce your motivation. Just the idea that you might have a backup plan will reduce your motivation. I'm going to get back to that in a second, okay? Let's talk about, usually when we talk about backup plans, we talk about a career or a big project or even an event. You have a backup plan. Let's talk about some simpler things, everyday things. Let's talk about marriage. Imagine walking down on your wedding day, walking down the aisle. There you see your future spouse thinking, well, if it doesn't work out with Riley, I always have Avery in the backup. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody thinks like that. Let's think about sports. A sports analogy. You never go out on the field and the coach says, hey guys, we're going with plan B. We're going for the tie. No, nobody goes for the tie. Do ties happen? Of course. Do you not always reach your goal? Of course. But you don't set up for a tie. One more last example. Let's talk about homework. You're assigned an essay. Who goes home and writes 2 essays just because the first one might not be good enough? Nobody does this. Nobody does this. So, if nobody does these things, have these backup plans in everyday life, why are we insisting that you have a backup plan for your major goals in life? At what cost are we sabotaging your success? So let's go back to motivation. All the research shows that when you have a plan A and a plan B, you lose motivation. Now I know what you're thinking. How can you tell if somebody is losing motivation? How can you tell if they're losing their focus? This is where neuroscience comes into play. It's pretty simple. You all know that you secrete hormones when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're angry. You actually secrete hormones when you're motivated as well. So the research shows that when people are tasked with just a plan A and they're tasked to come up with a plan A and a plan B, less hormones are secreted, this motivation hormones. Okay, pretty interesting. But why? But why? Why are you less motivated? This is what Benedict Fabiano, a researcher at Harvard University, decided to study. She came up with the idea that when you have a backup plan, you value it. You put effort into it. You put time in it. You want it to succeed. So once you do that, your original plan A loses some of its value. It makes sense. You can't put equal value on two equally to unequal plans. Okay, so right now I want to move into the type of backup plans that you can have. Right? But before I do that, I'll tell you one more story. A behavior scientist from Zurich, Chris Napolitano, he decided to study this. But let me tell you how he got interested into this. He went to the eye doctor. A simple checkup. While he's there, of course, the eye doctor is saying, if you read too much time on your computer screen, you're going to cause strain to your eyes. Yeah, we know that, right? She suggested that even though you wear contacts, you should bring your glasses to work, just in case you feel eye discomfort. Okay, Chris said, no problem. He noticed a pattern. On days that he brought his glasses to work, by lunchtime, he felt discomfort in his eyes. He felt the need that he needed to take his contacts out. On days that he did not bring his glasses to work, he never once felt this discomfort, never once felt the need to remove his contacts. For him, this was a eureka moment. Does having a backup plan change or influence human behavior? His research actually didn't say that it sabotages, having a backup plan sabotages your success. He said it actually changes the way you think about your goal. He says that people generally have two types of plans, the redundancy plan and the contingency plan. The contingency plan is just that. Not much time, not much thought is put into it. It's like a cushion. An example would be a job seeker. If I don't get the tech job, I can always just go work in the bank. If I don't become a writer, I can always become a teacher. Okay, these type of things. You don't put much plan or effort into it. It just that's what I'll do. The redundancy plan, on the other hand, is just as good as your plan A. Needs just as much effort, just as much time. You put in just as much thought. Now, of course, there's good and bad to both of these plans. But let's be realistic. Let's look at what research has shown. The contingency plan to start. The downfall of this, and let's talk about the tech employer right now. The downfall of this is what happens if he doesn't get the tech job? Most likely, the bank job will not be available. But worse than that, with a contingency plan, you decide to completely give up on your goals, on your plan A. Well, that didn't work out. I guess all my time, my education, no more. Okay? The redundancy plan sounds great, but it isn't realistic. Do you have the time, the energy to do two equal plans? Can you study both engineering and medicine? Will you be successful? Now, of course, there are people who can do both. What do they do then? What do they do then? That's for a whole nother talk. So, what does this mean? What did the research say? It said that people who come up with a contingency plan and have to follow through and use it end up feeling, or not feeling as happy, as successful in their entire life. The redundancy plan, most people do not perform well and do not achieve their goals to the stature which they wanted to. So, we come up with two major questions. All your plans, if you have backup plans, are they supportive safety nets, or are they subversive investments that threaten your goal? These are actual questions that you need to think of when you're deciding your future, what college you go to, your career, even your big event, your parties, whatever it is. You need to think, what is your backup plan? What type of plan is it? Now, I know, and I don't claim to be an expert on anything, but as a parent, As a teacher and now an avid reader of everything regarding backup plans, I do have some advice for you. Everything that I read, these are the things that the most successful people without backup plans did to ensure their success. So the first thing is be risky, not reckless. Be a leader of your own goals. Pele, probably the greatest football player ever. Before every game, he would state how he would score. He said, if I don't mentally imagine it, then I won't be able to do it. See yourself where you want to be. See yourself as a surgeon. See yourself as an engineer. See yourself in the position you want to be. Avoid the imposter syndrome. We all have it. The doubts, the excuses. I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I will fail, so I need a plan B. You have to get rid of those doubts. Next, it sounds like an easy one, but it's probably the hardest thought of all. You have to work really, really hard. No successful person is lazy. They all work really hard. You must work really hard. Next, try new approaches. I promise you that even the most successful people fail. They hit obstacles, but don't give up. Keep trying. Find new approaches. Find new ways of solving your problems. And last, adjust. Adjust your goals. You are allowed to change your goals. If one day my child says he no longer wants to be a fire truck, he did not fail. He did not fail. He just changed his goals. It is okay to change your dreams. Now, let's go back to the dinner table. Instead of begging my kids to have a backup plan, instead of pushing them into one direction, we are going to ask different questions. What steps are you taking so that you achieve your goals? If my children still want to be professional athletes or even fire trucks, we will support them. We will be there for them because the research has indicated that having a plan B will sabotage your success. I leave you with this quote, and I hope you have a nice day.